Give me a second. All right, it's recording now. So whenever you want to start.
Okay. Can I share screen for the slides?
I have to allow permission to do that. Give me a second.
I'm not sure like how far away I have to be because I still need to like reach to do the slides.
Wait, what?
Like I'm not sure how far away I have to be standing because I still have to like reach to do the slides.
Oh, to like share the screen?
Yeah.
You probably can just like move to the front, like when you want to move the slides. I'm not sure how,
Um,
but yeah. Can you share now? I gave you permission.
on the wrong page. Okay. Romero Brito once said, art is too important not to share. Have you ever looked at an artwork and wondered how it stood throughout the test of time? Art conservationists are the hands behind many of the great artworks that hang in museums today. Although it may sound like pure artistic talent, there are many scientific elements and historical aspects that go into a great restoration. Art conservation is a highly interdisciplinary artwork that involves specialized skills and education. According to Vivian van Sass, author of Art Conservation and Museum, modern art conservation can be traced back to the 18th and 19th century with the induction of scientific methods and research into restoration. Today, art conservation and restoration is any attempt to conserve and repair architecture, paintings, drawings, prints, and decorative arts that have been inadvertently affected by negligence, willful damage, and or inevitable decay from time and use. Although there are many reasons that an artwork may need to be repaired, the most likely reason is the passage of time and use. For instance, Da Vinci's Last Supper has been flaking away for centuries due to the time-limiting constraints that fresco and drywall presents. Considering the precision necessary to complete these restorations, art conservation must undergo training. The main function of art conservation is to preserve artworks for the future generations to see. This is a crucial and demanding title, therefore, most places will require a master's degree and portfolio in art conservation. Considering how specialized art conservation can be, those pursuing it typically hone in on one art field of conservation, such as painting or architecture. On top of this, art conservations also require experience in a conservation fellowship, which can be achieved through internship. Now that I've talked about what being an art conservationist means, let me share with you the scientific process behind it. To maintain accuracy and excellence, art conservationists must utilize scientific knowledge and methods to understand what they need to and how they need to repair a artwork. Though some artworks may seem well on the outside, art conservationists use scopes to magnify and discover any areas that need to be repaired. In painting conservation, spectroscopy may be used to identify pigments and their application. According to a 2019 article by UChicago News, spectroscopy is a technique that involves scattering light off a surface, exciting electrons, and the measuring of energy of these electrons by emitted lower energy levels. Like many other sciences, art conservation techniques are continuously evolving. In a recent 2019 article posted by Volanero and Pecor on biotechnology, biomolecules have risen in popularity in conservation purposes. These proteomics are being used in the identification process of pigment preparation. In addition to this, there are many other reasons that science plays a role in art conservation. Prior to extensive analysis, X-ray images are also used to understand how an image was formed. Infrared imaging can also be used to determine the various stages in the development of an artwork. In the last stages of analysis, art conservationists may also create a solvent mixture after scientifically identifying art conservationists and after scientifically identifying varnish used through Raman spectroscopy. And varnish is a substance that is used by artists to protect an artwork. So for instance, I have this painting and this has no varnish. And this painting has varnish, and as you can tell, it's like shinier. But this process is especially important because varnish acts as a protective layer. So if these art conservationists couldn't remove the varnish, then they couldn't make any repairs to it. Now that you know about the scientific methods of art conservation, let me share with you the art process. And this is an example of the X-ray. Due to the nature of the job, art conservationists are expected to have an understanding of artistic appreciation, and how art materials age. To avoid another fresco situation like Da Vinci's, art conservationists must have the appropriate materials necessary and the cultural factors to play a role in the artwork's development. Having the knowledge behind the cultural context of the material and techniques is crucial. Understanding the cultural techniques and materials used in a piece will help conservationists to maintain authenticity. For instance, in a 2020 article, The Importance of the Sun Symbol in the Restoration of Sami Spiritual Traditions and Healing Practice, Peter Arnstrand details how he studied Sami cosmology to create healing drums that connected the past with the present. Art conservationists also uphold a strict set of ethics and principles. Under the AICCM's Ethics and Practice, any art conservation done to a painting must be able to be easily removed for future, meaning no restoration is completely irreversible. Aside from the difference in mediums such as architecture or painting, art restorations may also require much more specifically trained individuals to provide a necessary completion of the restoration. For instance, an individual may be trained in rewoven thread into a canvas to help fix a torn edge. To summarize, art restoration works to preserve artworks through scientific investigation and through application of historical procedures. As Nancy Newell once said, conservation is humanity caring for the future. Thank you.
All right, you're up next, Jaden.
Okay, the words are gonna be like flipped around. Do you think that's okay?
I
Wait,
mean, I
hold
can
up.
still read it, so I think it should be fine.
Okay, sick. Sorry, it's kind of chalked. Okay. Robert Frank, one of the most renowned photographers of the 20th century, once said that there is a thing a photograph must contain, the humanity of the moment. Saying a picture cannot just be a stale image of a person or place, but it has to help the viewer create a story about the moment. Personal photographers help tell these stories. The types of personal photographers that I will be covering in this speech are photographers for high-profile figures, such as the president or celebrities. These photographers work closely with large names with the sole purpose of documenting their life and what they are doing. This job is not as straightforward as it seems, however, for there are many different tasks that a photographer has to complete before, during, and after the camera flashes. Before one can even think about being a personal photographer, they need to learn the basics. Knowing their way around the camera, what lenses to use during different shots, and what settings to use so the picture looks as good as possible are all crucial in creating the perfect shot. This can all be learned through practice, as being a photographer for an individual does not require a formal education or degree. The photographer also needs to create their own style. The way pictures are being taken and unique editing styles can set you away from the pack. While building a portfolio, a collection of pictures that show your best work and editing style, it is crucial to add pictures that demonstrate the range of your skills. Creating a strong portfolio is important in finding clients to take pictures for, as better pictures and consistent quality helps land more jobs in order to take them. These early gigs are important in finding an avenue for a higher profile shoot. For example, in an interview for Digital Photo Pro, Pete Souza, the chief photographer for President Obama, said that he was working for the Chicago Tribune as a photographer, and he was able to network himself to Obama while he was a senator. And Souza's strong portfolio landed him a spot as Obama's personal photographer. But what happens after you develop your camera skills and find a client? The job of a photographer is very demanding. Traveling nonstop in order to follow around your subject can be very hard on the photographers. Souza stated that people don't realize that when he's on, you're on, and when he's off, you're still on. He explained that his job was constant, often working long hours taking pictures of the president as he goes through meetings and press conferences, even following him around while he was on vacation in order to document what was happening. The turnaround time is also a very large portion of the job. Turnaround time in this context means the time that it takes for the pictures to be taken, edited, and shipped out. The turnaround time for many of these photographers can be as short as mere hours after the picture is taken, because of the demand to get important events documented and reported on as soon as possible. Some ways photographers help combat this is hiring a team to work alongside them by either editing pictures or taking them. The team helps the chief photographer take pictures from different angles and drastically decreasing the time spent editing the pictures due to there simply being more people editing them. These are just the physical demands of the job, however. There are many things that a photographer has to keep in mind, as they are the gateway that shows their figure to the masses. These personal photographers understand that public discourse surrounding a public figure solely stems from the media. The Museum of Modern Art gave insight about this topic, stating that some photographers strengthen public personas, while others take a deeper look into what is behind the usual public image. Being a personal photographer requires you to take a deeper dive into these people. A photographer that takes pride in the personality of his photos is Gunnar Stahl, a photographer from Atlanta who takes pictures for some of the biggest celebrities in hip hop and the R&B industry. In an interview for Highs Nobiety, he goes into detail about how his portraits of celebrities are more intimate and more personal compared to pictures taken on the red carpet or pictures taken for an ad campaign. Being able to show the personality of the client is important because it allows them not only to be an idea, but it shows their personality and allows them to show off something their fans can relate to. These personal photographers also have to compete against the paparazzi, freelance photographers who pursue celebrities in order to take pictures of them, as these people tend to take pictures of celebrities in situations that make them look bad to the public eye. The difference between personal photographers and paparazzi is that personal photographers have communication with their clients and are able to show them in their most positive light, and they are able to truly encapsulate their personality and demeanor, while the paparazzi catch them in candid moments that can be taken out of context after harassing them for pictures. Becoming a personal photographer is no easy feat, and it takes years of determination and hard work. Creating your own style and familiarizing yourself with the camera, combined with networking, can result in a large amount of time spent waiting for the big opportunity. The demand of traveling nonstop, along with taking and editing quality pictures quickly, both alone or with a team, takes skill, precision, and lots of discipline. Being able to frame public figures in a way that is both personal and professional is a masterful art that takes a large amount of practice to get right. Fred R. Barnard once said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and these photographers are helping to write the narrative of the world around us. Okay, I'm done.
You can see my screen, right? My slides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. A few years ago, I was watching a baseball game, and the announcers were making some comments on the pitcher's throw. They were getting excited at a baseball that was thrown at 100 miles per hour. And I was thinking to myself, how could they determine how fast the ball was thrown? Just last year in my Introduction to Kinesiology course, I figured out that a biomechanic is one of the specialists that are responsible for determining how fast a ball is thrown. It was one of my favorite careers that I learned about, and I spent much time during that year learning about biomechanics for my end of the year project. Biomechanics is present in our everyday life, from the way you carry a box to the way you run up a hill. A career in biomechanics is a subdiscipline of kinesiology that has many aspects to it, including measuring how fast a ball is thrown. Today, I will share with you what a biomechanic is, what a biomechanic does, and the technology a biomechanic uses. A biomechanic is a specialist that studies in the field of kinesiology, which is the study of movement. A biomechanic specifically deals with how forces like gravity interact with the body. According to Sherrill Hoffman and Knudsen, writing for Human Kinetics in 2017, biomechanics applies mechanical principles to understand how forces affect an organism's physical body, i.e. its structure, and the organism's ability to carry out its functions, i.e. to pursue its purposes or goals. A biomechanic integrates the laws of physics like friction or velocity into his or her works to come to conclusions about mechanical principles in the body. A biomechanic studies what he studies, first of all, to make movement effective, and second of all, to increase the safety of an athlete or anybody. Primarily, biomechanics focuses on the interaction between the forces and the human body, with the bones and the muscles. But it can also deal with the mechanics of blood circulation and oxygen circulation. In the next point, we will see exactly what the work of a biomechanic entails. A biomechanic can help you most effectively use your force when you move. For example, a biomechanic would help you fire a bow and arrow correctly. There are many ways to fire a bow and arrow, but a biomechanic would use the laws of physics to determine how to fire a bow and arrow in a way that maximizes the force you exert on the bow. In this way, a biomechanic is an important specialist in the athletic community. Athletes like basketball players and football players employ the use of a biomechanic in order to help them improve their shot or a football throw. This is an example of biomechanics used to improve the effectiveness of your movement. Biomechanics is also used to prevent injury in sports as well. This, according to Timothy Hewitt and Nathaniel Bates, writing for the U.S. National Library of Medicine of September 2017, the objective of preventive biomechanics is to employ basic training techniques in manners that are clinically proven to prevent injuries while enhancing performance. The overarching objective of preventive biomechanics is the widespread reduction of musculoskeletal injuries in athletics. A biomechanic is responsible for preventing a quarterback from tearing his rotator cuff during a throw. Biomechanics is also used in the workplace to reduce the risk of injuries and accidents. A biomechanic will come into the workplace and instruct the employees in how to best lift a box or to move a dolly. To an employer, a biomechanic is extremely important because preventing injuries can save a lot of money for the employer. According to Greg Schlosinger, writing for Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine Center on January 28, 2020, one sprain injury, according to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, could cost a company upwards of $30,000. As we can see, a biomechanic's role in preventing injuries is of prime importance for an employer, so it can save money. A biomechanic is essential not just in the athletic community, but also in the workplace. However, a biomechanic could not do much of their essential work without the technology they use, which leads me to my final point, the technology a biomechanic uses. A biomechanic has a wide range of equipment they use to assist them in their work and make accurate observations. Some devices are used to measure velocity, and others are used to measure force. Let's talk about a device that measures the speed of a ball. A device called a radar gun is used to measure the velocity of the ball. This device is used by biomechanics to figure out that the ball was going 100 miles per hour. In my hand here, we have something called an infrared thermometer, and it employs the same technology that a radar gun uses to determine how fast a ball is thrown. A second device used by biomechanics is the force measurement device. This device can measure how much force a person can exert on the force measurement device. This device can use the biomechanic can use the results from the device to improve the strength of the participant, whether it be through a change in body stance or through more training. This device can also be used to measure how much force is exerted on the body. The benefits this device brings is explained by Stroll, Hoffman, and Knudsen, writing for Human Kinetics in 2017. Therefore, identifying higher pressure areas in the feet of a patient with diabetes helps the clinician tailor a shoe insert to spread the forces more evenly, and thus prevent further tissue damage. Pressure devices can also be used on wheelchair seats to test seat cushions in order to minimize pressure on patients who have little sensation in the lower body. These two devices are not the only forms of technology a biomechanics use. They use many other types of equipment in order to produce accurate results. Today, we have learned about what a biomechanic is, what a biomechanic does, and the technology a biomechanic uses. Biomechanics is a subdiscipline of kinesiology that uses the laws of physics and forces to improve safety and to increase effectiveness. Biomechanics is present in our everyday lives despite its name not being well known. So whenever you throw a ball or walk down a stairway, remember biomechanics is at work during that moment. Thank you. All right, looks like we're done now.